All right, I had to plug in my computer charger. It was freezing in here this morning. I had finished my solvent layer and everything was sealed up so I could warm up in here yesterday. Then when I walked in, there was like a really strong odor of the solvent as the canvas was drying. So I decided to open up my vent to air it out. And it just got really cold last night. So it's basically just like leaving a window open. And it's pretty cold in here. So I'm hoping that this can warm up. So this morning, I'm going to work on the background. And because the heart is a light to dark red, I'm going to work on a complementary color, which is technically green because it's opposite of red on the color wheel, but I like using teal. Teal's my favorite color. And I don't like following the rules. So that way I can still kind of honor why it is a rule, but also do my own thing, which I think is very important. So for this is really time consuming. And let me add my other camera. I'm working on a 36 by 36, so you may not be able to see the entire limitations of the canvas, but you get the general idea. And once I start to add this first layer, everything will start to pop. This part isn't as exciting because it's just a necessary part of the process where I'm laying down layers. I'm going to focus on the background first because when you start to add anything to a canvas, you have to understand where it's taking you. You have to have a process or an order of operations, so to speak, just like you have in math class. So there's a reason why I'm doing everything at that exact moment. I'm doing the background first because that will give it time to dry. As it's drying, I can focus on the heart. And then once the heart is finished, the background will be ready for the second layer because I want to finish the background first before I get to the foreground. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes I do the foreground first and then the background last. But for this instance, for this particular canvas, I want to do the background first. I want to get everything situated, and then I can start to focus on the detail of the heart. I prefer it that way. I like the suspense of the painting. I like doing the most prominent part last. It also can put pressure on you. If it's a lot of detail or if it's a big challenge, not knowing exactly how it's going to turn out and you're investing all this time in the background that doesn't matter as much. So sometimes I will reverse it just so I can kind of not necessarily get it over with, but if it requires a lot of focus, then I want to attack that first. And then I can kind of relax as the painting progresses. So for me, what's really important is how can I enjoy that process too? How can it all make sense where everything is drying properly so I can come in here and I have something to do? But it's also thinking about how do I want to feel throughout that process? Well, I want to feel satisfaction near the end. I want to not be stressed out at the very end. I want everything to be easier as it progresses, so to speak. So that is why I'm doing that. Now, this is going to require a lot of paint. So I don't know if I'll be able to finish the entire background today, but I'm going to at least try. So that's the deal for today. I have my teal. And I'm just going to start working around. Now, because it is early in the morning, and there probably aren't going to be a lot of people checking in, I'm not going to listen to music out loud. I'm going to listen to music on my headphones. And everything that I'm going to do, I already explained. I'm going to move this down a little bit so I don't have to strain. So I decided to use a smaller brush, a smaller width, to get around the edges. It's not really necessary for this piece because the lines don't have to be exact. But I'd rather have these lines defined because I created these lines for a reason, but if I paint over them a little bit, it's not the end of the world. So I'm just breaking this up into sections because this is the correct height for my posture right now, to maintain this posture. So once I've finished with this first layer in this area, I'm going to move it up, and that way I can still keep this same arm height. It could honestly be a little bit lower because I just had surgery on my elbow a few months ago, and I don't want my elbow to be raised too high. It's just uncomfortable. So this is fun painting on a 36 by 36. Just, it's so much more dramatic when it's on a larger canvas. Now, it's not really necessary for me to use this size canvas, honestly, because there isn't too much fine detail. Like some of the pieces that I've used the 36 for 36 for, it was really necessary because there was so many lines, so many small detail, like my Nationals Park at Area 1500, or Area 1500 is the name of it, the baseball stadium. I had to do it on this, and it was still difficult at that size, at that scale. This is just impactful. So the subject kind of demands a larger canvas, not the technique. I also had it laying around. I have one more canvas of this size. I'm going to move this up a little bit. So even though this is kind of like a boring step, it's still really exciting because with each stroke, you're just giving it life, especially when you are using a dark color for the background and you haven't painted the foreground yet. It creates contrast, which I really love. So I'm already out of my initial teal. Oops. So that didn't last very long. But yesterday I went to Michael's, purchased some paint in preparation for this morning. So even though I bought teal, I still changed it up because it has to be the right hue. And when it comes out of the bottle or the tube, it's really dark, at least with teal. So I have to lighten it up a little bit. It's still dark on here, but you can imagine how dark it is if I don't mix it with any white. So there's no science to this. I just generally remember the ratios of white to teal. You notice that my palette paper is a lot messier than if you were to see somebody else paint. I don't understand how they can keep a nice, clean palette. I don't understand how you can mix paint that neatly. Just crazy to me. And I can see that this is still a little bit darker than what I want it to be. So I'm going to take my palette knife and add the rest of that white. Again, it doesn't matter that much. It's the first layer. I have to redo all this again. But you still want to maintain some consistency. But who knows? I mean, maybe it's going to look cool if there's some areas that are a little bit darker and some areas that are a little bit lighter. All right. So that's coming around a little bit. Camera's at an appropriate height so you can see just about the top of my canvas. It's almost exactly at the top. That's pretty cool. So I don't know why I keep on doing this. The last painting I did this too. For whatever reason, I'm starting to work right to left. And I'm not really sure why I do that. Honestly, I think why I'm doing that is because, typically if you read left to right or you write left to right, I'm so impatient that I think my mind is just like, let's just get this over with. And I think I just instinctively go to the right to make sure that it's finished. I don't know. So I think what I'm going to do, I've been in here for about 20 minutes. I try and keep my time here limited to an hour. But I'm in here now because I wake up so early during the week. I wake up at 5. And so on the weekend, it's difficult for me to sleep in. So while my family's sleeping, I come in here, try and knock out the session. So I had a little bit of a late start. Got in here at 7:30. So I don't want to stay here too long. So in looking at this, I think I'm going to finish halfway. All right. So now I'm going to raise this back up. There you go. Damn. All right, so now it looks like you can't see it any longer, but you will in a second. So the top of the camera is really where I just left off. Man, this palette paper is driving me crazy. I ran out of my painter's tape that I used to hold this down. So these are like smaller pieces. And if this keeps up, I have duct tape that I'm going to use because I can't have loose paint with, or loose paper with paint on it flopping around. So you still can't really see it. It's a little better, I guess. Not much. All right. This is getting duct tape. All right, so you still can't see it. Well, now you can a little bit. I think that was pretty close, actually. Maybe a little dark. All right, almost to my stopping point. right. Well, that is it for this session. I was able to get half of the background, half of the first layer of the background on there today. So then next time I come in here, I'll try and duplicate that same session, come in here, finish the lower half, and then I'll start to work on the first layer of the heart. And then once the first layer of the heart is completed, then I'll start working back on the background and add in the second layer. And then again, just bring everything forward. And that's the plan. Thanks for watching.